Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Jacob Panka at Panka Natural Health, and we're back again to talk with life coach Paul Boehnke. Last time we talked about what is coaching, and then we moved into discussion of self-doubt and reprogramming that voice in our head. And I really enjoyed the conversation, so we're back again today to talk more about what Paul does and how he works with his patients. So welcome, Paul.
Thank you. It's great to be back, Jacob.
So I'm interested to hear from you. What other issues do you help your clients with?
Yeah, absolutely. Self-doubt, of course, is one of the main ones. But, often people come to me with a feeling of a lack of purpose in their life. Maybe they know all the things that they're doing in life, but they're having trouble tying them all together in a way that is meaningful for them. They believe that their life is important and significant, but they're sort of unable to see that importance and that significance and really how it shows up for them. It's almost as if they've got tickets for a play, but they're stuck in the lobby and they can't actually get in to see what's happening in the theater. They feel sort of a bit on the outside of their life, and they don't like that feeling. Having a sense of purpose in life is really what helps us connect to meaning. It's what gives us energy as opposed to draining us of energy. And having purpose, well, it really makes it easy to make decisions because first, it brings a great deal of clarity to us. And it also helps us feel grounded, grounded in life, at work, in our bodies, in our various roles, and in our relationships. And without that groundedness, we can feel a bit unmoored and sort of adrift. Without purpose, we find ourselves just kind of wandering around aimlessly, which also usually means we don't get very much accomplished. We end up feeling stuck a lot. So often, when people go looking for their life's purpose, they're focused on the future. What is my life going to be from here out? And focused on what it is they want to accomplish in that time. And oftentimes people do all sorts of exercises or assessments that helps them sort through all those options. And these can be great tools. I use some of them with my clients as well. But the problem with this approach is it tends to be focused almost solely on the future. And the future is, well, so big, so broad. It's, filled with, well, virtually unlimited possibility. And that becomes overwhelming. I mean, how can we possibly narrow our focus in that situation? It's a bit like, well, going to an ice cream shop that's, well, the size of the universe with an infinite number of flavors. How is it possible to choose? We can't even know what all the options are. And it just seems that there's sort of no way to know in which direction to move. People also think of purpose as something they have to go find. And if they aren't able to find that big thing to call their life purpose, they often sometimes feel afraid that they're going to fail at life. This, I believe, is a misconception of what life purpose really is. Your life purpose is really not something to find, but it's more akin to simply recognizing it. But sometimes, depending on how you hear these words, even this can feel a little bit too dependent on our searching, on our looking, on our ability to recognize. It feels like there's such a huge responsibility and such a huge possibility of failure. So, what will my life mean if I'm not able to recognize my purpose? Just the stress from that fear of failing will almost ensure that you'll probably miss the subtle signs that are really so important. Life purpose, it's not so much about what you do as it is about who you are. And my belief is that we're all always living our purpose. We can't help it. Whatever path we're on is the path of our purpose. But when we don't see any pattern or reason of direction in that, it often feels like a chaotic path, and then we feel lost and unmoored, as I'd mentioned. And this is often what I work with my clients on, is how to make sense of their life purpose.
Wow. It's always so centering. You just exude this force that just brings me into balance. I love hearing you speak, and it really reminds me of your story, kind of your journey, from, I knew you were a musician before. That was your life's purpose for some time. And then you made this transition, or you had this moment where it just wasn't fulfilling those needs anymore. And just knowing that story and seeing you go through that situation, and then hearing you speak about this transition, from kind of this omniscient kind of overarching view of things, is just it really brings me into balance. So I'm just so grateful to to have you around, Paul. And I really want to hear more about that approach. When you're discovering somebody else's life purpose, you've been through this, and you've got so much experience and knowledge to share about it.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for your comments. I'm glad I seem to have that effect. And it's interesting, you described my earlier life as a musician, as sort of that's what the purpose of my life was. And as I look back on it, I realize actually being a musician was not my life's purpose. Frankly, being a life coach is not my life's purpose.
Mm.
But the themes that underlie both of them, that is what kind of reveals my purpose. And this is how I really go about helping people do that. It can be definitely helpful to do some of those exercises which help to clarify your values and, sort of what it is that gives you passion and gets you excited about things. But usually, the quickest and sort of most impactful way to find what our future purpose is to look at the themes and the patterns of the life that we've lived so far. Everything that's happened to us, everything we've learned, focused on, been excited by, been bored by, challenged by, failed at, succeeded at, all of these things, when they're considered together, they will almost always reveal themes that have wound through your life. Now, in my own life, as you mentioned, I was a musician before I became a coach. But I could see after a number of years that were very rewarding and an honor to be, I could see that, well, somehow that part of my life was sort of coming to an end. Something wasn't quite as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. But I wasn't sure what was next. But when I looked toward my past, I saw themes of learning, of spiritual connection, of searching for acceptance and a meaning. Those are sort of the themes in my life. And all of those themes are exactly the same themes that inform my life now. I just happen to be expressing them in a slightly different way. There was a client of mine that I worked with recently who, as we were looking through his past, he was trying to figure out, what direction do I go? And I said, well, what's your life been about so far? Think about all the things you've been through. And after he thought about that, he realized that the theme of his life has been one of healing. Healing for himself, healing some generational family things. And then I asked him how that theme might connect to his future. And he immediately had an intuitive knowing about the direction that he needed to head. The goal, the end goal, that wasn't really quite clear, but he had a clear knowledge of which direction in which to head. The possibilities in that case sort of went from an infinite number of possibilities to the possibilities that were near that path that he called healing. I've found one of the most effective tools for finding our life's purpose is really to look at the past and discover those patterns and themes, because these will illuminate your next step forward, sometimes many steps forward. But even if it's only the very next step that becomes obvious, that's all you need. You can only take one step at a time. What's important is to have an openness about what arises in you. Not so much in your head where, well, frankly, most of us are when we are looking for our purpose. We're trying to think about those things. Oh, should I do this? Should I do that? We're weighing all the various possibilities. But instead of looking to our head, I encourage people to look to their heart and to their intuition. That's why I will often use a guided meditation that will help my clients sort of tune into their intuition, sort of clear away the clutter, the underbrush that we have to sort of navigate on this search. And this meditation will usually just sort of simply shines a spotlight in the direction that they need to head.
So what other options do folks have? I feel like you touched on a few different options that folks have if they're interested in getting some help from you and discerning their life purpose. You kind of talked about that process for you, but are there other options, other approaches to this?
Well, yes. I mean, obviously, working with a coach, someone like me, around life purpose for an extended period of time can really have a huge impact. Frankly, not only on your sense of purpose, but on everything that's going on in your life, your work, your relationships, your energy, how connected you feel to your own life. And those, extended packages are really powerful. I do actually offer occasionally just a single 90-minute session that's really sort of laser focused on helping people discern their direction for what comes next in their life. And this 90-minute session usually is like $220, but right now, from now to the end of August, I am making an offer to your clients to have like a little over $20 discount. It'll only $199. To get that discount, you can just go to paulboehnke.com/purpose, and you can sign up and pay for one of those sessions right there. And if you use the coupon code Panka, Panka, all small letters, you will get that discount. So there are a lot of ways to work on it. Of course, going through this on your own is also possible. But I have to say, working with someone like a coach, we will have a tendency to ask questions and open doors that either you ignore, you don't see, or aren't quite willing to open all on your own. We will, as a coach, I will take that step forward and open that door and say, so what do you think about this? And that's when things really open. It's easy to get stuck on our own.
That's very generous. Thank you for extending that offer to folks watching today or here in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
Is that one, the offers for the first session? And I'm curious how far you see folks getting in that first session, and do you believe that that's enough to fully address or unearth somebody's life purpose? It seems like it wouldn't be. I don't know. That's my intuition there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And of course, everyone's experience is different, and it depends on where my clients are. Sometimes a single 90-minute session takes care of the whole thing for them. It becomes very clear on where they need to go. But even if it's not everything in that first time, if clients come and they are ready and open to simply receive whatever information comes up, they can gain an amazing amount of clarity in just 90 minutes. In any case, it's usually enough to get a much clearer picture of the direction that we need to head. For those who wish to continue, of course, I'm happy to support them as they begin to live into that purpose. I cannot guarantee that 90 minutes will solve all your life purpose questions, but I can say that with the experience I've had with many of my clients, 90 minutes really focused in this way, when clients are open and ready, can bring an astounding amount of clarity.
Thank you so much for answering my questions today, Paul. It's been great meeting with you. Always a pleasure. If you have any other information to share with us before we go, please do.
Yeah. So, the only other thing, you can always learn more about what I do simply at paulboehnke.com. There are blog posts there. There's actually a tab on my website that says Coach Yourself. And there's a whole bunch of free resources that you can use to get started on your journey, whatever that journey may be, right now.
Wonderful. Thanks again, Paul.
My pleasure, Jacob. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.